Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give Mr. Botes no more than 10 minutes. Let me tell you something very interesting about him. I knew what he does before I knew him. And I did not meet him or knew him in South Africa. And I'm in a far-away place in Ghana, Accra, and I'm asked by someone, do you know Mr. Hennie Botes? And I said, what? And I thought they are talking about someone in Ghana. I said, no, I don't. He said, but how come you don't know me? He comes from South Africa. These are the houses that he has been building. I said, wow. So I pretended I know him. I said, yes, I do. And until I came back home, and then I sent a message to him and said, good job. You're doing a good job in Ghana. Hennie, it's your chance now.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, especially Professor. We come from the same wonderful city, Port Elizabeth, or PE, or Kaverga. I would like, tongue-in-cheek, if I can be naughty, is to say that I've got a video of 1 minute that was prepared for the pavilion of the South African group at COP27. So please, if we can play the video. Should I carry on? Yes, okay. So this is the most difficult part. I've got about 54 slides here. So if I divide 10 minutes and 54, I've got about 0.3 seconds per slide. So my question is always, as a tool and die maker in the construction industry, I say why? Why do we make bricks in a wooden mold and then give it to someone to lay? And then there's all this waste, and I think I also addressed the issues that the doctor raised about life cycle cost, because if you look at waste is a phenomenal life cycle cost, because you pay 20 years mortgage over it. So I'm just going to rush through this. You talk about pollution. You know, if you look at brick pollution in India, for instance, it's 800 million ton of CO2 gases per year. So Africa needs 4 million houses. Sorry, I'm rushing through, otherwise I know I'm not going to get through this. The KZN brick structures with the floods, they collapsed, which means a brick really cannot withstand the forces of nature. If you look at prefabs, you know, a lot of people were killed, washed away, blown away, Cape Town, etc., with prefabs. In reality, our country has got two problems. Number one, it's 12.5 million people unemployed, and number two, the 3.7 million house backlog. So I say, how do we link these two? So Minister Kubai says we must find new ways to address the backlog. And I believe that she's speaking about moladi. So if I go through all of these problems, you know, if you look at the dates, in 2013, 58 billion to fix dodgy RDP homes. 58 billion. Now that is twice the current budget. We don't have that type of money. So, and I'm going to download this, so you're more than welcome to read through all of these things. But for me, a phenomenal man is Jay Naidu when he was Minister without Portfolio. This is what he said, and I don't have my glasses on, so I know that he speaks about the problem not being addressed in 1994, and the problem has grown in size, and in reality, the youth are, and Afrikaans is a lovely word, but I can't use it here, but they Gatvol. Thank you. So, up to their ears, thank you. So here we have 12.5 million people unemployed. The problem, we have 3.7 million housing backlog. We live in 2,700 new informal settlements have been created since 1994. It's a huge problem. It's a huge issue. So the president says unemployment keeps him awake at night. Then David Makuru says in the same article in 2008, and at the bottom, backyard dwellers demand houses. Now, how long have we been talking houses? How long has it been carrying on? So there's a solution. Skill the millions of unemployed. The CSR, the gentleman behind me, this is a report done by the CSR. So from all the ABTs and BRIC is number 42. It's not a good system. So now I say, hey, 3.7 million housing is a solution. Use housing to create employment, producing product. When Deputy Minister, and please remember, I'm not criticizing anybody. All that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to highlight the issues that is raised versus the knowledge that I have in order to solve that problem. So that is why I say this could be a summary of all the people that have spoken today, and in here will be solutions to every one of the points that was highlighted. So we export to 26 countries. Moladi is not a construction company. We supply technology. We want to train the unemployed to build for the homeless. We want you to form your own company where you produce your own window frames, that you don't have to go to somebody and knock on the door and say, please, can I supply you window frames? I think Deputy Minister Pam Tswetse doesn't understand how difficult it is for you to go to a subcontractor or a contractor that has already got a job and ask him if you can supply window frames. Your answer will be no. So we have to build a new model, and I believe that we can through this. And if you look at Bruce says he's got money. If you look at FNB, Simpiwe Margazela, they have money. So what Moladi wants to do is use technology as a tool to empower the youth. It's not a question that we're going to build, but we know that you need money, you need skills, you need technology, you need access to market. So we know that we've gone through 36 years of development to get to a point where we can use you to develop your own villages, your houses, your clinics, whatever you need, your solar panels on the roof, in order to reduce your dependence on electricity. So let me get to where we are. We produce a mold, and we then pack the components in boxes. We ship again to 26 countries. We have a raw former. And in the raw former, we cast the foundation according to engineer specification. Then we clip the formwork together, the plastic panels. So you can see we have a document to explain how it needs to clip together. And in between the formwork, we put the door frame, we put the msimbi, the reinforcing, we put the plumbing, we put the electrical conduits, we put the block out. And then it takes us 4 hours to erect this mold. And once this mold is in place, we dwalisa it with slabati and cement. Simple. So instead of making a mold and a brick and a mold, we make a house and a mold in 1 day. So this is what the advantage is. We change the way we build. There was talk about change. We talk about disruptive. Now all of a sudden, the next day we remove the mold, like cookies. You remove the mold, and there's a house. And I see that the men are outnumbered by women. So I would like to win some points here and tell the women how important they are, because they're far more productive than men on a site. Thank you. So we can cast one house in 1 day with one mold. If we have 100 molds, we can cast 100 houses in one day. Why do we have 3.7 million house backlog? Why are people on waiting lists for the last 20 years? It's a fallacy. So we can solve it. So this house was built in Benoni 35 years ago when I still had black hair. And Raleigh and I went through with FNB to go and inspect the house, because we're looking at how can we assist end users. So again, there's an opportunity where we can link other industries to this. This is in Cape Town, the gentlemen that are doing the sound at the back. This is in Parklands in Cape Town. We built this about 8 years ago, 10 years ago. They were 600,000 Rand per unit. There's one in the market now for 1.1 million. So I'm not offering moladi as an alternative, low-cost, inferior, fall-over, next-day product. That's not what we want to do.
Thank you,
We
Hennie.
build on a moladi. Can I just skip through this, just so that you can see some of the houses? So schools, we're very busy in Western Cape. The Eastern Cape, we're working very closely with the DBSA because the classrooms in Cape Town blow over and away. So we're busy with clinics, ablution blocks. Why do children fall into toilets and die? You know, there's solutions. In Tanzania, the World Bank gave us $65 million. We built 16 courthouses with moladi. So the first thing is a knock test. No one wants to live in a house that sounds like that. They want to knock a wall and hear it's solid, then they say Malini. Otherwise, the Malini doesn't come. So these are all the awards. We've got Agrima. We won an award in 2006 with Minister Lindiwe Sisulu. We have many of the banks on board. Raleigh, I think you were there. I need to just show you this, very important. This is how strong moladi wall is. And that is a 100mm wall. So we mold a house instead of a brick. The thermal properties, we reduce CO2 carbon emissions by 52%. This is how resistant some people are to change. Not all, but most. I just want to bring one slide to the end. So what we want to do is we hear all the difficulties that you have in urban areas. I gave myself away here. So if we look at urban areas versus rural areas, this is the way that we're going to skill the people that we wanted to skill in 1984, is create cooperatives. So when you have a cooperative, the cooperative applies to Minister Kubai for your subsidy, and the cooperative builds houses with the community. And we weld the windows, we weld the doors, we make the paint, we make the glazing, and we get the whole community involved, and then we transfer skills. Because if the president goes and collects $100 billion, and he makes that, I've collected $100 billion over 4 years. My question is, money only produces interest. People with skills produce product and income and taxes. And we have no skills development in South Africa. That is really the biggest problem. So the automotive industry, they're the 17 million houses. And this 17 million door frames and window frames is a return on investment of 39 billion for government. Isn't that correct?
Hennie, I'm going to have to stop you right there.
Thank you.
I know you can spend the whole afternoon talking about this. And
well
thank
done.
you so much. Basically what
Well
you're
done.
saying,
Thank you.
ladies and gentlemen, Hennie has really given us so much information. I think in long and short, he's saying what he does, he provides new ways of providing affordable housing. And the solution is moladi. That's what he says. It's not me, it's him who says that. And he says he's able to address two problems, unemployment and homelessness at the same time. So that's Hennie. Thank you so much, Hennie. We do not have